Well, we've gotten through 9 weeks of the NFL season so far. They've been interesting to say the least. We've probably seen the beginning, middle, and end of both our teams' relevance. So that's not so much of a happy thing. But there's another 9 weeks in front of us getting started this week, this Sunday, and we'll have some more fun games. Actually, I guess it's getting started on Thursday because that's how football works. Michael, you ready to do this thing?
Yes, I am. Let's do it.
Excellent. So, everyone, welcome. This is We Are the Game. I'm Luke, and that's Michael. And we're going to go through the NFL Pick'em site and just pick our games. We're not really tracking the score of how well we're doing and all that. So, if you're doing better than we are, we'll totally take your word for it. Just let us know in the comments because we're probably not doing that great. So, that all being said, here's their little site, and we're going to get started with the Thursday night games. We got the Raiders going to play the Broncos. The Raiders, slight sellers, you could say, at the trade deadline, I don't want to say getting rid of, but trading away Jacoby Myers. Now he's with the Jaguars. We'll talk about them later. And then the Broncos still playing pretty well. They seem to have all the clutch in the world where they pulled off that win over Houston last week, all in the fourth quarter. Bo Nix is starting to turn into like Tim Tebow Nix or something. Sorry, I'll never do that again. I'm sorry. But it is what it is. So Broncos heavily favored, and they probably should be. Michael, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I mean, even before they were sellers, the Raiders, I think this would have been an uphill battle for them. Broncos at home. Yeah, I mean, this would take a lot for the Raiders to win. It would be absolutely shocking if they were to win this. So I'll definitely take the Broncos to win this one at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if the Raiders can find a way to protect Geno in this game somehow against the best pass rush in the NFL,
Yeah,
it's tall order, then maybe they'll have a shot. Just that whole puncher's chance of things have changed. I know sometimes a team, after they've like fired a coach, they come out and they're unpredictable and fiery and they just want to give it a go. Just give it everything. But I don't think that this is the week to do that for the Raiders. But we'll see. It's a division matchup. All right, so then we get an early morning for some places in the world. 9:30 Sunday morning, Falcons at Colts. Colts obviously being one of the big premier teams to talk about in the big trade deadline that just happened, acquiring Sauce Gardner for 2 first-round picks. Sauce should help them in a big way where they needed it the most. As much as people talk, well, I talk. I'm probably the only person who talks about their pass rush not being amazing. A lot of it seems to be due to they just have no one in the secondary who can hold a guy for 2 seconds. Yep. Sauce Gardner is kind of a plug-and-play lockdown corner in a lot of ways. So he should walk in the door and be a substantial improvement for them. The Falcons are still kind of floundering and struggling. Who you got here?
Yeah, I mean, we keep talking week to week about how the Falcons show up one week as one team and the next week as a different one. They did play a good game against the Patriots, who are surprisingly good, probably in a very similar way, actually, to the Colts. But the Colts only got stronger, as you were just pointing out. It's hard to bet that the good Falcons are going to show up week to week versus the not good Falcons. So I definitely think this is the Colts game to lose. Yeah, and I would probably even have it somewhere around this. Again, the good Falcons could show up and potentially up in this, but I think it would take a lot because the Colts are really good right now. So yeah, we'll stick with that.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I think if the Falcons want to have a chance in here, they have from time to time had this kind of dangerous pass rush they've been able to put together. And it seems weird to talk about because last year they were the only team, I think, worse than my Cardinals at pass rush win rate. And this year, I don't think they're stellar, but again, they'll put together a game where some of their guys just go off, some of their young guys in particular. If they want to get a chance in this game, that would be a good way to do it, as the Colts, when they've lost, I think has been partially due to them getting pressure. The opposing teams, rather, getting pressure on Daniel Jones. So we'll see. But, yeah, it's probably this Colts all the way here. So, all right, moving into the normal early bracket. We got Saints at Panthers. Saints losing Rashid Shaheed at the trade deadline. Panthers didn't do anything at the trade deadline, but they didn't necessarily need to as much as some other teams did. I mean, they certainly have room for improvement, but yeah, they don't have just huge glaring issue, I don't feel like. So I'm sure some people on that team would even disagree with what I just said. But tell me who's going to win this game.
Well, I mean, the Saints didn't have a lot going for them before they were trading away players. Now, I mean, it's an opportunity. Like, it's an opportunity for someone to step up, and we have seen some times where that works out. The Panthers continue, I think, to surprise. I don't think that's so much Bryce Young as it is Rico Dowdle, frankly. And Chuba Hubbard doesn't need to get left out of the conversation, but Rico Dowdle continues to look particularly great, and has to be accounted for all the time. I don't see any way really where the Saints come out of this one without the Panthers just completely falling apart. So yeah, I would love to pick an upset, but I don't think this will be the one I pick.
Yeah, also, we didn't mention it, but Tyler Shuck, I just hadn't seen enough from him to really say, oh, yeah, he's the right guy for this game or anything like that. I am curious about what his ceiling is, like so many other people are, but I just haven't seen it yet. And now you're taking away some of his better players. It's not like you took away Chris Olave, but still losing Shaheed will hurt them a little bit. So he's still got Olave. He's still got Alvin Kamara. Juwan Johnson's played well at times. So we'll see. But and again, it's a division matchup, and sometimes those can surprise you. But at best, I think this is a close game. So, all right, moving on. We've got the Giants going to the Bears. Giants heavily underdog here, the lack of favorite, whatever you want to call it. Bears still playing pretty well. Not juggernaut, anything like that, but they are in a pretty prime position to challenge for one of the wild card spots. Giants, of course, reeling from all the injuries this year, primarily Malik Neighbors and Cam Skattebo. Jackson Darts continue to play well, but it just seems like the team's just not enough yet to really challenge good to really good teams. So tell me about this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants game against the 49ers was kind of an interesting one in the sense of like it felt like the two most injured teams playing against each other. I actually thought the Giants played a decent game. I mean, they did get like a good chunk of their points, as I recall, in the fourth quarter. I kind of felt like some of those might be kind of junk points a little bit, but they still continue to impress me in just the sense of like overcoming the challenges that they're facing. The Bears scored a ton of points against the only defense that might be worse than the Cowboys, which is fun to watch. They also gave up a ton of yards to old man Flacco. And I mean, just an absurd number of yards. So it's called into question what's going on with their defense now. I just like going to your point. It's hard to see how the Giants have enough in their reserve tank now to develop enough offense to do that. With that being said, I'm not going to be shocked if the Giants pull out a win. They're a scrappy team. It appears they're a scrappy team from first man to last man. It's fun to watch that. I appreciate the heart on that team, but they've unfortunately this year they've just had so many injuries. It's hard for them to compete. I'll end up taking the Bears in this one. With a few less injuries, I'd have happily picked those Giants.
It was certainly have made it interesting. I could chalk up that Cincinnati game to Joe Flacco having his amazing game every once in a while. And he's had some good games this year, and he's just going to sling it. So, I mean, they've got amazing wide receivers with Cincinnati. I could put it up to that and them getting tired at the end of the game. On the other side of this, the Bengals have given up a whole bunch of points several times this year. For the Bears, it's still something of an anomaly. On the other side of this, the Giants, they're still banged up. They've still got some talented players who've stepped up and played well at times, and their defense is going to be what has to carry them here. If you can get some pressure on Caleb Williams, you might get him to make some mistakes. Brian Burns has played out of his mind from time to time this year. They still have Abdul Carter and Thibodeau and so on. So they've got a puncher's chance here, but I think it comes more from a defensive perspective than from the offense. The offense just needs to do enough. If they can get them 20 points, I think they'll have a solid chance if their defense can really show up. But similarly, I kind of have to pick the Bears here. They're just playing more consistently.
Yeah.
So we get an AFC South matchup next. We got the Jags going to the Texans. Last I heard, C.J. Stroud is expected to miss the upcoming game. Texans are still currently favored. We'll see if this shifts through the rest of the week. Jaguars brought in Jacoby Myers from the Raiders, but you kind of mentioned it at some point off air that they'll probably kind of ease him in. Like he'll have a few packages that he runs, but it's still going to be primarily Brian Thomas Jr., who's probably featured to their chagrin. So for Houston, they're relying on their defense is the short answer. Their run game really hasn't done much. Their offense moves the ball sporadically, but this has got to be them just counting on their defense. I'd be surprised if you don't pick the Jags here, to be completely honest, but tell me who you do have.
You know me too well. Honestly, I'd have picked the Jags with Stroud. And part of that is because the Jags have already beat the Houston Texans this season. Um, I think that's one thing to keep in mind in this game. The other question is like, who have these teams really played and beat? Houston's beat the Titans, the Ravens, and the Niners, and that's not a huge resume of success. Whereas Jacksonville's beat obviously the Texans, the 49ers, the Chiefs, right? There's some real good competition in there.
Yeah.
And they've been in games against everyone but the Rams. So, I think that the Jaguars, I would have this as the Jaguars more like 65-35, especially with Stroud being out. I think if Stroud's in, then it's a little bit more even keel. But it's hard for me not to pick them. I do expect I do expect for the Jaguars that Jacoby will come in and help immediately in terms of you've got to pay attention to him. Like everyone knows he can hurt you.
Right.
I just wonder how much he's going to get integrated. As we were talking about earlier, how integrated he will be. I expect we'll see a lot more from him and what the plan for him in that offense is over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I think he will have a little bit of an impact. I think Davis Mills is expected to play on the Texans, and we've seen him a little bit before. I don't think anything that we've seen has led us to believe that he's the guy that we should expect will lead them to a victory over a competitive team.
No.
So no, I'll take the Jaguars in this one, and we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jacoby Myers might have like one of those efficient games where, again, limited package, but he gets targeted like 3 or 4 times and gets 2 or 3 catches for 50 yards or something like that. Like it's efficient and bright spot, and we can look forward to more of it in the future, unless, of course, you're a Texans fan.
Well, and I also think he's going to look at this as a real opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like he's off. He's the kind of that good player on a bad offense. And now this is a real chance. I think he's going to really, but this is a do or die game, I think, for both teams. So I think this will be a really, really fun game to watch, or I would expect it to be. I would be shocked if the Jaguars ran away with this game against what's probably the best defense or the top 2 or 3 defense in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it should be really good.
Yeah, it should be. Looking forward to it. Let's see. So then we got the Bills going to play the Dolphins. Bills, of course, heavily favored. The Dolphins really didn't sell very much at the deadline. They did trade Jalen Phillips off to the Eagles, but that was kind of before the actual deadline day. But they did do that. But other than that, they were oddly quiet. And they seem like the kind of franchise that might have wanted to rack up picks. But who knows what they'll do in the future. They're kind of always a puzzle. The Bills played a great game against the Chiefs, got the win. It's the regular season that I think they've won more often than not against the Chiefs in the regular season. So take from that what you will. But they look like the better team right now at a glance, and I suppose this website would agree with that. Do you give the Dolphins any chance here?
I mean, they have the sleepers chance, right, where the Bills go to sleep on them and just don't take them seriously. But I mean, the answer should be no. Like if the Bills, it should be shameful for the Bills to lose to what the Dolphins are right now. I feel like I think they're playing a little defeated, right? On top of the fact that they're undermanned and they just sold some of their 1 or 2 of their impact kind of players. Yeah, this should be the Bills to run with, especially how they've been playing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can't give the Dolphins much of a chance here. Again, it's a division game. It's in Miami, and sometimes it's like playing in the heat throws people off. But I just don't think that the disparity is those kind of little intangibles away from being a close game even. So it should be Bills all the way. They've been playing really well, and their defense seems to be coming together too. So, yeah, we'll see. Good luck, Dolphins. Next, we got the Ravens going to play the Vikings. The Ravens are riding high now, starting out 1-5. I think they've crept all the way back to 3-5. Lamar's back. He's looking good. The defense looks like it may have turned a similar corner to what it turned last year about this time, where they went from absolutely terrible to, I think, best in the league. I don't know that they're best in the league yet, but they are playing much better. So if they continue on that track, they're going to be hard to beat for any team. The Vikings did just get a great win over the Detroit Lions, but it seemed like it's more the defense. Their offense is still kind of sputtering, and we're starting to see Michigan Wolverines, J.J. McCarthy, more often than not. And he may turn into amazing NFL J.J. McCarthy, who's the head of the offense at some point, but he is not doing that consistently. And this doesn't seem like a great game at a glance to not have a great offensive plan. So tell me what you think here.
For me, this one's a bit of a quandary. The Ravens, I know everyone's riding the high, as you were just saying, with Lamar being back and like, hey, we've got some momentum. They really ran over the Dolphins, but it's the Dolphins. And I mean, I might even pick Dallas to win against the Dolphins. So,
I get carried away.
I just don't think that this is a very good indicator of where the Ravens are. Do I think that they are very like? I think the Ravens are very like Dallas, right? They've got a really confident offense when Lamar's playing well. They have an absolutely atrocious defense that's hard to bet on. I understand what you're saying about sometimes in the past they've had a track record of their defense magically showing up in the middle of the season. Here we are, that time. The Vikings, to me, play more consistent football, especially on the defensive side. That's why, that generally is how that shows up. It's hard for me to pick the Ravens here. I just don't feel like they've had enough of a track record of success yet with Lamar back and what's going on. So I may actually pick the Vikings to pull this off at home. We'll see how that plays out, but they weren't sellers or any of that. I kind of feel like both these teams are much, much more evenly matched in this game. So I'm going to take the risk here on the Vikings.
Okay. All right. I kind of like it, to be honest. I like the way their again, I really do like the way the Vikings defense has been playing. So I didn't mean to undersell that a little bit, but yeah, this should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. And regardless, it'll be fun to see Lamar Jackson back at the helm. So yeah, good times. All right. So then we've got the Cleveland Browns going to play the New York Jets. It's a real high-profile game here. Kind of the big thing here to talk about, I feel like, is the Jets being massive sellers at the trade deadline. You're looking at a team now without their best corner, one of the best corners in the league, I think most people would say, at least in the coverage standpoint, which is primarily what corners are for. Sauce Gardner. And then, of course, they lost Quinnen Williams, who is viewed somewhat as an underappreciated defensive tackle, defensive end, on the same level of like a Jeffrey Simmons, but a little underappreciated because it's with the Jets. And and there's been other headlines there recently with Aaron Rodgers and such. So they've lost two of their best pieces. And yeah, they got a bunch of draft capital, and they brought in, I think, Mozzie Smith, and they brought in Adonai Mitchell as part of those trades, respectively, with those teams. So that'll be interesting. But they are going to be really hard to pick until they were hard to pick before in most games because they haven't been playing well. And now they're going to be harder to pick because we don't know what these new things are going to look like. On the other side of this, we've got the Browns. And the Browns are exactly what we thought they would be. It seems like coming into the season, they have a great defense, and their offense is flat. It's nothing. So this is a good time. If this is the only game that you're able to watch, maybe find a video game or something to play at the same time, because this could be a little rough. What do you got here?
Yeah, it's a bit of a quandary. Both teams are coming off their bye. And as you already pointed out, the Jets sold off most of their things of value that they can depart with. It's like the strength on the Jets, I would say now, is now their offense. That's not saying much. But now they're going to go up against another, top three defense. Myles Garrett waiting to pad stats. How many sacks is he likely to walk out of this game with?
Right.
It's like you're going to lean on Brees. Brees has got to try to dodge Miles all day. It's not great. Browns offense, I have zero faith in, but I just think the defense is going to put them in a position to succeed. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the Browns on this one. I think it's a real opportunity for some of these new guys coming in to rewrite their story, because I think both of those two guys, Adonai Mitchell and Mozzie Smith, both of them kind of need to rewrite their story in the NFL, and so I think it's a real opportunity for them. I'm actually kind of excited to see what they can do in this game. It's kind of short, right? It's not been a lot of prep time to incorporate with the team, but I'm still intrigued for both of them.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd have to agree with you. This should be the Browns. They have at least one established aspect of their game that's dominant and top 5 in the NFL. So, yeah, I'll give it to the reverse Bengals. So, all right, then we've got The Patriots going to play the Buccaneers. One of the more interesting games of the week. We finally get the Patriots who've had, and they will, even Patriots fans will tell you, it's been a pretty easy schedule so far, and most of the remainder of their schedule is pretty easy. But they do have a couple of highlights against good teams. The Buccaneers look like one of those teams. Buccaneers have played a pretty solid schedule, and they've played well. They've got several injuries still. Some people thought they might make a move at the trade deadline, but really didn't. I don't believe at all. I think at a glance that they're probably right in who's perceived to be the actual better team here. It's most likely the Bucs over the Patriots, but I'm more excited to see this game than maybe any other game this weekend, save for the Monday night win. Which we'll get to. But who do you got here?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. This should be a very interesting game. I was actually really interested to see if the Bucs would go out and try to get some kind of a wide receiver to just bolster their core there with all the injuries they've had. But yeah, I think as you were pointing out, the Patriots, it's like their resume is not as solid as the Bucs, but nobody's overlooking them. This is a real statement game for the Patriots. I feel like in particular, the Bucs have already proven they can beat really good teams. They can beat anybody. But the Patriots are kind of this upstart kind of team that's really performing well. Can they compete with a more composed? We were talking about the pass rush earlier of the Bucs and how unbelievably good they've actually been this season. How do they deal with that type of adversity from a very balanced, well coached team in the Buccaneers? I think this will be very, very good. It's a real statement opportunity for the Patriots to say, hey, we're not just a young team that forgets how young we are at times. It's like, no, we're ready to compete right now. I also feel like Drake May at moments shows very, from a determination standpoint, very similar characteristics to the Buccaneers, to Baker. Good grief, his name just disappeared. Baker, thank you. That they have very similar like levels of determination. Mm-hmm. Baker's more animated in it, but I see it's like it feels like Drake does that as well, which should make for a really interesting comparison during this game. So, with all that being said, I probably would still say my money's probably still on the Bucs, but I think that it's really actually much closer than this. Partly because of their wide receiver core being so injured.
Yeah,
and I think Bucky Irving's still out too. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, it should be one of the best games of the week, where it tells us a lot about both teams. And primarily, it's the big shot for the Patriots to step up and say, "Yeah, we can beat anybody, not just the Dolphins or the Jets or whoever." So, but yeah, I think I'd be with you in picking the Bucs here. They're just too proven, and yeah, we'll see. See what we get. Oh, then we've got a game. First game of the afternoon slate. We've got the Cardinals going to play the Seahawks. Cardinals didn't do anything at the trade deadline as far as trades are concerned, but they have named Jacoby Brissett the starter moving forward. Now, there's some question as to how much the coach really meant to say about, is he the starting quarterback for the rest of the season, which he said on one of the local media shows. But that's something of a question. I don't think he meant to say that, because this coach likes to play the whole games of like, oh, well, who's going to start? You don't even know. So I'm not really sure about that. But we can be pretty confident at this point that Jacoby Brissett will be the starting quarterback. The Seahawks made a fairly large trade, but it's actually kind of under the radar because they went and got Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. We'll see what he can do in that offense, but they seem to be pretty confident that he can make a big difference. The Cardinals defense, again, this kind of goes under the radar, but the Cardinals defense was actually the show in the Cowboys game, holding them to 10 points on offense. Obviously, they scored 7 on that blocked punt. But that was the big success, was our defense showing up. And if that can continue to happen, we might be able to stay in this game. You know, the Seahawks didn't really run away from us in the first game. They won it 23-20, and it came down to the very last second. So as much as, yes, I think they're on an 8-game win streak against the Cardinals, they're not miles and miles away from us. And, you know, knock on wood, it stays that way. But the Seahawks, you know, they're a good team playing well. The one weakness I thought they might have coming into the season was their offensive line, which they're actually, I think, tied for the league lead in fewest sacks allowed. And then on the other side of this, they have an amazing pass rush. And we're one of the 5 worst offensive lines in the NFL. So Yeah, that's great. We've been sacked 13 times in the last 3 games. They've only been sacked 9 times in all 8 games combined that they've played. So
That's crazy.
it's not great, but or 8 or 9 games that they've played. I think they've only played 8. Excuse me. So yeah, that will be interesting. I have a feeling that this is going to be just like the game may not be a blowout, but I would probably give the Seahawks about this much chance to actually come out on top. Tell me what you think of this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I hope that the Cardinals, now that they've destroyed the Cowboys, that they can show up and play similar brand of football, right? I think that they were too surprised during that game. You pointed out the bigger one, which was just their ability to handle what has been a good offense, and they had a great game plan for it. Y'all really played the Seahawks well the first time y'all played. It was a close game. It was a one-score game. Seahawks pulled away at the very end of that game.
Yep.
So it's not like you need to do tons of things differently. I don't feel like to be competitive in this game. Your defense has to show up, and they need to keep y'all in some decent field position. But I think that it probably didn't give enough credit to how your offense looked. Jacoby wasn't taking tons of huge risks. The game plan seemed much more apparent. Like, hey, this is not just us running random routes. It's like, no, we've got a real game plan. Marvin Harrison Jr. showing some elite wide receiver things that you want to see, like the move he put on Deron Bland to posterize him.
Mm-hmm.
There's some positives to look at there. With all of that said, this is in Seattle. It's really their game to lose. I think it would be exciting in a lot of ways to see this still a one-score game. I think that a one-score game is a good thing. I'd love to see the Cardinals come out on top, but I think optimistically, I'm hoping it's a one-score affair here. Cardinals are playing a lot better than they're getting credit for. They are in a very, very difficult division. So I will take the Seahawks in this one. I don't know. I'd quite call it 97-3, but I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the reasons why, as much as I think this would be a close game, we could cover the spread, which I think is 6.5 at the moment. It may have changed in the last little while, but as much as I think that, I have not seen Jacoby be able to come from behind and actually take the win back. There have been 2 games where he got close. Respect. The Colts game, the Packers game, where he got close and he was driving, I believe, and then it just wasn't quite enough. But then, so I haven't seen him be able to cross that line yet and go steal a win away. And this might be the game where you need something like that. So we'll see. Again, as a Cardinals fan, obviously, I'd love to be surprised here. And the Seahawks are my least favorite team that I want to beat all the time. So this is going to be torture. But sadly, I do think this is probably accurate. So next we've got the Rams going to play the 49ers. I'm a little surprised neither one of these teams did really anything at the trade deadline. I kind of thought they would go after some kind of complimentary piece. The Rams have a long, storied past of going after players at the trade deadline, so they did not. But, I mean, they're a really good team with what they have now, so they don't really need anything. And the Niners may be viewing this as, oddly enough, as much as I think they're 6-3, they may be viewing this as something of a lost season. Tons of injuries still abound. They did beat the Rams back a few weeks ago, still with a lot of injuries. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners won here. Who do you have?
Yeah, it's funny to me to see this as an 80-20 game. It's very similar to the some of the other games we've talked about, the Houston game, for instance, where it's like, man, divisionally, the 49ers have already beat the Rams. Granted, their defense is significantly more impacted now than they were during that game. I don't know. The last week's games are not very telling either. One team beats the Giants, the other team beats the Saints. It's, they're kind of, hey, you did what you're supposed to do games. Not a lot to look at there. I feel like I would probably still give I don't know why. I don't know that I could explain it outside of that the 49ers find ways to win competitive games. I'm probably taking the Niners at home here in this one. But I think this one will be I expect this one to be a very good game that goes back and forth. It's divisional. You're going to see a lot from the key players here. Puka on one side. I think you're going to see a lot of Christian McCaffrey on the other. I'm just leaning that the 49ers are going to pull this one out. by a small hair here. What do you think? Which one do you call it? Zero division. You know better than I do here.
I claim to, at least. Yeah, I don't know that I disagree. Like, to me, this is more of a coin toss because the history of them playing against each other. It's part of the reason why I agree with the Seahawks game being so lopsided, is because they have found a way to beat us 8 games in a row now. There's just something to the way that they have built that team, the way they coach it, the way that something. Similarly, the Niners keep themselves in Rams games, I believe. I don't know their full or even just recent history going back 6 or 7, 8 games, but I feel like they have played each other hard. And I think the Rams are not a one-trick pony per se, but if you can manage Puka Nacua, you can stay with this team. That is their one guy. If you let him run wild and he has 12 catches for 170 yards, yeah, you're going to lose. But if you can keep him contained, they don't seem to have that many great answers. Now, their defense is good. You can't be letting their, Jared Verse and such, Byron Young, getting 5 sacks. So all of this comes together. This should be close. If you had picked the Rams, I'd understand, but this one's closer to a coin toss than the 80-20 that it's suggesting. So we'll see. It should be another good game. All right. We got Lions moving to Commanders. Not moving to Commanders, but they're going to probably just move in and live there if they feel like it with the Commanders. Commanders, of course, coming off of that really nasty Jaden Daniels injury that we don't know the exact long-term status of him at this point, but we can assume safely he won't play this week. And to be completely honest, even if he had, I'm not sure that team is playing well enough as a whole to play with a team like the Lions. The Lions coming off a disappointing loss to division rival Minnesota Vikings. But I don't think that at a glance, I don't feel like the Commanders have the same kind of defensive strength that the Vikings are putting together these days. So this feels like the Lions game to win, and this website, at least for the moment, would agree. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at who the Lions have lost to this year, it's like the Packers, the Chiefs, the Vikings, right? And the Commanders have had a lot of just bad luck, really, right? Like the Jaden Daniels injury is the concern you have, or I have, all the time with a running quarterback is like, okay, when is the big injury going to happen? And it was a hard one, obviously, to watch this weekend. But they've had a lot of injuries in their wide receiver core, kind of like Tampa Bay. They're certainly not at 100%. The Lions still look really healthy, really good overall. I think the Lions, this is easily the Lions game to lose in this. And I would expect them to come out with a fairly straightforward win.
Yeah, they should. Commanders are just kind of reeling right now. It seems like a combination of just things going wrong, the season not kind of, just not going the way they had hoped. Some of their players are coming back, playing a bit more, or I think they're coming back and being healthy, like Terry McLaurin. But I don't even know for sure that he's playing this week because he's been in and out and just struggling to stay healthy this year. So we'll see. But yeah, Lions just seem like they look like the better team that just lost a weird game.
Right.
So we'll see. Then we got Steelers going to play Chargers. Steelers coming off a good win, and my brain just blanked on who they just beat.
Colts,
thank you. Great win. Not a lot of teams are beating the Colts these days.
Yeah.
And one of the big things was their defense showed up. Their defense seems to be a little random, but their pass rush has been quite good. Even though we don't hear T.J. Watt's name mentioned as often as we kind of feel like we should, their pass rush does show up in some form or fashion in most games. Their offense is the word that immediately came to mind is stable, but not necessarily dominant. Like you're not going to get those 4 touchdown Aaron Rodgers games like they had in week 1 very often, but they're going to get you 25 points most of the time. The Chargers keep on losing guys. Losing Joe Alt, they brought in that guy, I've forgotten his name, the Saints tackle, but he wasn't particularly great for the Saints, but he should be serviceable for them. I still like the coaching that they're doing in L.A., the Chargers in particular, but really all of L.A., sadly. Who's going to win this game is my short question.
Well, if the Steelers are going to show up at all like they did in the last game, and I don't even think I don't believe they need to play as well as they did against the Colts to win this game.
Right.
The Chargers' depth chart at running back is wild. Like they only have really one rostered running back at the moment who's healthy, and it's someone that I don't think we know. And so, it's tough when you become one dimensional to compete at this level, and that's outside of the aforementioned other injuries they have on the line. And the Steelers seem to be. At first, I thought maybe they're just stabilizing. Like, hey, now they're getting to this point where they're playing more consistent football, and now they seem to be kind of, I feel like, trending upward in their level of play. Now they could completely change my opinion on that, as now that I've let those words out of my mouth. They could completely change that this week, but I think that they're on an upward trend. Now, I don't think that that means this is a walkaway win for them. I think they need to capitalize on the Chargers being one dimensional and have a game plan that exploits that. But I do feel like this should be an opportunity for them to come away with a really valuable win for them against the Chargers, who are just beat up at the moment. So I'm going to pick the Steelers in this to come out with this, but they do need to show up and play the defense, as aforementioned.
Yeah.
Needs to come and show up with that consistency. Like, hey, you don't have to make every spectacular play, but you cannot make big mistakes.
Right.
Or Justin Herbert and Lad McConkey and other people will exploit you right back. They'll make you pay for that.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the Steelers in this one. Where are you at on this?
I'd leave the same. Like, I think it comes out of their defense. I don't think that Aaron and company are going to put together 35 points, but they have pretty consistently managed to come up with around 25. I feel like this season. I have their points right in front of me, but and I think that might be enough to beat a Chargers team if your defense can do what it should do and keep them contained. Then I think this could be a relatively low scoring but solid win for the Steelers. So we'll see if they can't get after Justin Herbert. That'll be the crux of this one, because I mean, if you let him just pick apart your defense, and yeah, he's going to, because he can do that as well as anyone. So, but yeah, I agree with the Steelers take here, I think. All right, then we've got Monday night, which you kind of alluded to earlier. To me, this is maybe the game of the week. You've got the Eagles, who did not really at the trade deadline trade, but just before it, I guess, with the Jalen Phillips addition from Miami. They already were a good team, and then they added another player. There should be an over-under, and I'm sure there's a prop bet somewhere. Is like, how many of the brotherly shove plays are they going to do in this game, as it was Green Bay who initiated the vote to try to get it banned last offseason? I'm betting 8. But on the other side of this, we got the Packers coming off a weird, disappointing loss to the Panthers. We talked about that Panthers game going into it. It's like the Panthers have played the Packers tough when they, on the semi-rare occasion that they play each other, they just seem to have their number for some reason. So I'm not entirely shocked that they lost. I am a little bit shocked that they lost it 16-13. Like, I thought maybe they'd lose like 27-30, but that their offense would still work. So that was more than a little bit surprising. But I do think Green Bay should bounce back here to some degree. I don't think you're going to see scores in the teens for very much of this season for that team. Like, they've got a good offensive line. Their wide receivers pretty consistently put together good games, and they've got Josh Jacobs still. So I think that was more of an anomaly. But the Eagles on the other side of this, coming fresh off the bye, feeling pretty good. Who do you have winning this one?
Well, I definitely know who I want to win this one. The Green Bay Packers, they're a good team, and there were moments in the beginning of this season in particular, I was like, man, they should probably be Super Bowl favorites. Like, they just looked unstoppable. As the season's gone on, they definitely kind of show ups and downs. They're capable of beating anyone on a given day for sure. I think it's very interesting to have the Eagles, who, Jalen does not generally have to worry a lot about getting hit tons. And one of the things that protects him from that is the brotherly shove, right? Like other people would have on a third down, have to drop back and pass. They can just push. But Mark Parsons and Rashawn Gary, it should be fun to see if they can put together some pressure on him to make mistakes. He doesn't spend a lot of time under that types of pressure.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can manufacture that. If they can, then I think this will be a very, very good game. Reluctantly, especially with them coming off the bye, they've had 2 weeks to prep for this. I would expect the Eagles to win this game. I do think it's pretty close here. Maybe 70-30, maybe 60-40. somewhere in there. I think this will be I'm hoping it's a really good game, no matter what the outcome is. This should be a really entertaining form of football on Monday night, as long as it does not turn into exactly what you already suggested, which is, a tush push bonanza, which nobody wants to watch. So, especially since the refs have no idea what they're doing when they're watching it, which is just bad for football. They've got to figure that out. So, but I would probably take the Eagles on this one, sadly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Coming off the bye, it totally makes sense. I think that if the Packers can protect Jordan Love, they'll give him a good shot. Kind of some of the things that we said about the Chargers. If he can stand back there and pick apart a defense, he can do it really well. And that's kind of his major strength. I'm on record saying I don't really think that Jordan Love is the exceptional thing there in Green Bay. I think it's that offensive line and their scheme. But he is a good quarterback. And if you can give him time, he can really go to work. And the Eagles are not the invincible juggernaut that some people thought they might be coming into the season. So they're certainly beatable. This should be the best game of the week. Almost sad that we have to wait till Monday night to watch it. Hopefully ESPN and YouTube and all those people figure out what they're doing, because that was a little weird. But all right, man. Well, fantastic. That'll finish up our Week 10 picks. Some really great games in here. Also the Cardinals game, which won't be, but there's some really great games in here. Just wanted to thank everyone for joining us. We recently got to our milestone of 100 subscribers, and we want to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined us and subscribed and made fun of us and all those other fun things. So now we're trying to get to 200. So we'd appreciate any newcomers. If you want to stick around and join us again sometime, give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell us who your team is and why you think they're going to be great this weekend, or why they're not, if you're a Cardinals fan, most likely. So, but again, thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you all in the next video. I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.